Hello and welcome to the Pebble Beach Pro-Am Golf One and Done video brought to you by PoolGenius. My name is Stephen Andress, joined each and every week on this show by the lead analyst over at PoolGenius, Jason Lisk. You can follow him on Twitter at Jason Lisk. In this week's episode, we will look at the three most popular picks for Golf One and Done pools. We'll look at the purse. It is a signature event, but it's not quite the same as some of the others. We'll explain that coming up. We'll look at the data grid, biggest favorites, course fits, recent form, who we like for Pebble Beach this week. It's not just Pebble Beach. Spyglass has a round mixed in there for the first two rounds before we get to the cut to the weekend. We'll get to all of that. We want to say thank you again for the success of these videos over the first month of the PGA Tour season. If at any point in this video you find the information useful, do us a small favor. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let us know in the comments who you are picking, who you are debating in Golf One and Done. We had some good conversations in the comments last week. Let's keep that going. And Jason, before we go to Pebble Beach, we got to celebrate, partner.
Right.
We got an outright last week.
You nailed the outright. Yes, you had Goddard as your top pick.
I think you mixed them in there after I convinced you last week, right?
I had Goddard on some, and including in the Rick Run Good pool, and that was it. See, this is how good it does. That entry had missed the cut twice and had like 40,000 coming into the week, and now I'm in the money.
Yeah, man.
In that one, and of course things changed because now we got an even bigger event. But yeah, I had some Goddard. Got a outright third right now on another one. I had Goddard in a 500 person pool. Just thanks to that and Jason Day 2 weeks ago. So all it takes is a couple of those. So great hit on Goddard. He was near the top of our grades, I know, last week, but another great hit. 2 tournament wins for Goddard. The dude is looking like it might be a breakout year for him. I mean, he's already broken out, but like, we're going to talk about him. Should we save him for even bigger events? Right.
Yeah. If you haven't used them,
if you haven't used them. So, but we'll get into that. Congratulations on the hit. Big one. I picked the wrong Højgaard. I'm going to do that all year long, probably. Nikolai finished higher than Rasmus. Rasmus teased me on Saturday, getting, I think, inside the top 5 with a run on the back 9. But last week was a week of runs, wasn't it? I mean, Goddard had a stretch where he had like a couple birdies for like 2 days.
I had first round leader on him on Thursday, and then he kind of went away till Sunday.
And then he went 5 birdies in the last 6 to get back to it. I mean, so he had a stretch of like over 36 holes where he might have had a couple birdies all tournament, and he still won the thing, which tells you how good he is, because that's Scheffler level. Scheffler also had that bad opening day, and he's hanging around, and he shows up on the leaderboard. Is Goddard in discussion as a guy who can win even when he has like a 2-day stretch where he's not playing his best golf? That was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's the craziest part. I don't even think he was the most deserving winner, but he played well enough to sneak out the win, which means that he just won an event without having his A-plus game last week, in my opinion. He lost strokes gained putting and won the WM Phoenix Open. Imagine if he putts, what he might do in one of these events. So
a great leaderboard over the weekend. That was a fun that was the tournament of the year so far, don't you think?
Absolutely. And you know what? As long as it wasn't Hideki Matsuyama, because I'm sorry anybody that might have had him, but that dude was in the desert more often than the mob over the weekend, and he still escaped every time with crazy shots over and over again. He couldn't hit a fairway. He's making long-range putts to save par. He really didn't deserve it, and how ironic and, in my opinion, appropriate that he winds up in the church pews on 18 to end it for Judgment Day and loses in the playoff. So, you know, I'm glad it wasn't him. I felt bad for Nikolai Højgaard in particular. I had him on my outright card. I thought he played the best, and he had one bad hole. The second hole, he had triple bogey. So don't forget about Nikolai Højgaard moving forward. His ball striking was off the charts, except for that one hole on Sunday. He fought all the way back, and if he wasn't so aggressive down the stretch thinking he needed to catch Hideki, I think playing conservative might have gotten him into the playoff. So, you know, that's just another name to keep in mind as well. But awesome week overall. Great tournament, party scene out there. Yeah. Fantastic way to move forward here to our first signature event of the season, Jason, where the purse money just more than doubles, and we have
Can I
to talk
quickly
about it.
add something?
Yeah.
We have our Discord. Jump in the Discord. It's picking up. And like I posted on Sunday, I posted the Jesse Pinkman meme with Hideki. I think it was on like hole 3 or 4. I was like, he can't keep getting away with it because the dude was in the trash like every hole and then rolled in a chip in, a putt. It finally caught up to him. But yeah, jump in our Discord. Like if you enjoy this too, come join the Discord and get in the conversation. It's fun. I think what's fun on these. This was a fun Sunday sweat with lots in play. I think I had like 5 golfers in play on my various one and dones entering Sunday that could have made a run. And I was rooting against Hideki because he was the one I didn't have on any of them. So it was a fun day.
And he didn't deserve it. So all's well that ends well there. But yeah, to your point, it doesn't take much. If you got a slow start and you're one and done, I was in 35th, 100th place. It's such a big number, I don't even know how to say it. 3,500th place in a pool last week. Hit Goddard up. Now I'm in 200th place with that 1.7 million. A lot can change quickly if you just start stacking a couple of good finishes here, especially if you get the outright winner. So hang in there if you're off to a slow start. We're also going to share our top 3 for Pebble Beach at the end of this video, and I'll give you my favorite long shot of the week as well. And it's a good week for that because I think a lot of this field is leveled by a short course that puts everybody basically in the same spot. So it's a good week to maybe go long shot hunting as well, just in some top 20 markets. But the purse is huge, so be careful about that in Golf One and Done. So as we do every week, let's get to our handicap of the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and we'll start with the 3 most popular picks as projected by PoolGenius. And for subscribers that are out there, you will see for the first time a player with 4 dots next to their name. That means we are having a guy at the top here of popularity for Pebble Beach that is more popular than any player has been projected for Golf One and Done pools at this point in the season. That's because it is a signature event. It's a smaller field where pools are going to gravitate more towards the top of the odds board. And this week, that player is Justin Rose. Amazing course history here for Justin Rose, a 3rd place last year. In the past 2 years, this has turned into a signature event with the best players in the world showing up. He does have a win here in the pre-signature event era of the Pebble Beach Pro-Am when it was one of the weaker fields on the PGA Tour for the entire schedule. But he loves this course. He's played really well, and he's coming off a win at a course that's exactly the opposite of Pebble Beach, and he won by a huge margin. It was a snooze fest all weekend because Justin Rose is out there dominating. And now, Jason, arguably, I think he comes back to a place that's a better fit for him.
Yeah, I mean, you would think a veteran like him, with all his shot making, like it's probably at a bigger edge of a course like this with the small greens and the his course history. And this is the course we're going to get into it more, but I think that also most fits like a link style in terms of a seaside, the wind, the small greens. So guys that have success on those types of courses, which Rose has also won, not won, but been up there in open finishes plenty of times. Like it just fits his game. And so we're projecting him to be fairly popular, also given that he just won 2 weeks ago. And that I think he's a good one to consider using if you want to save like the Scotties and the Rorys of the world.
2 T3s at Pebble Beach. That includes the 2019 U.S. Open that was played here. He did have the win at 2023, got the win at the Farmers, obviously, also finished 6th at the Hero World Challenge. For a guy who is 45 years old, giving me hope. That's for sure. So he's playing the best golf of his career. And don't forget, I mean, he finished 2nd in a playoff to Rory at the Masters last year. Just pure class still to this day for Justin Rose, and still modeling well for me. Last 50 rounds, last 24 rounds. He finished 4th in my modeling for this week for Pebble Beach. So there's a reason why last year he was 250 to 1. This year, he's 30 to 1, and for good reason. The last 12 months, he has played outstanding golf. That's how much his odds have changed for this event over the course of 12 months. The 2nd most popular player as projected by PoolGenius, we said Justin Rose was at least 15%. We're around 10% here once again for Siwoo Kim, who with Scotty Scheffler is without a doubt the best ball striker on the tour to start the year. We still have questions, though, about his putting. That's always been the issue with him. But my goodness, you cannot be striking the ball better than Siwoo Kim has to start this season. He's played all 4 events. Here are his orders of finish from the first event at the Sony Open on T11, T6, T2, T3 at the WM Phoenix Open this past weekend. I can't shoot a hole in him really overall with the ball striking. He's going to be in the fairways here for sure, Jason. He is going to be having wedges in his hands into these small greens where he should have an advantage there. I will just say, when I was modeling him, when I dug deeper into proximity to the hole and how far those shots were away from the green, it seems his ranking for proximity is based more on mid and long iron shots, and the wedge play proximity from 125 to 150, 100 to 125, inside 100 yards. He moves down the rankings quite a bit. So it has made me wonder if I want to fade his popularity this week, because with this being a wedge fest and a short course, maybe it's actually Siwoo is a better play at the longer courses where long and straight is rewarded more often off the tee as well.
Yeah, I'm of two minds here because I'm debating him. You lay out a good case, but he's also been on fire. I mean, just overall, like I think you said, oh, he doesn't model as well for Phoenix, and yet he was still in contention on.
You're damn right. It's a great point.
So I think he might be in that, like, he's in the mix, and we'll get into some game theory aspects too. I think if you're in like a segment that ends soon and you haven't used him, but you've won with Goddard, he's been used a fair amount by the people like right behind you and gotten some money. So he might be a decent like play in those kind of situations.
Yeah.
So I think there's arguments for and against you. I think he's definitely a guy you either take a stand on or you pick or you hope he doesn't. If he finishes outside, like at the event like this, you can do well if your guy finishes top 5 if he doesn't win. So you're hoping for, like, if you're fading him outright, you just no top 5, right? Just he can play well, just don't be in the top 5.
Last 24 rounds of my modeling, I just want to make sure I'm painting the right picture here. He's second behind Scotty Scheffler for me, which makes all the sense in the world based on what we've seen. He's first in strokes gained on approach. He's third in strokes gained off the tee. If we look at some other things that I care about for this week, birdie or better percentage, he's fourth. He has made enough birdies here to contend. Around the green play on small greens, maybe the wind picks up. You're going to have to chip and putt sometimes here to save some pars. He is fifth in around the green proximity from the rough. Just what I mentioned before, though. It's just the proximity from the fairway from 75 to 100, 100 to 125, 125 to 150. None of those are inside the top 20 in this field over the past 24 rounds. Some of that's a little noisy with some guys playing here who haven't played since last year. Some guys who are finally coming back over from Europe and Dubai, etc., like Rory and Tommy. So it's a little noisy. Our eyes certainly tell us he's playing phenomenal golf. He's on my short list for the top of my outright card with Justin Rose. I'm still considering those two guys. I'm considering maybe one other guy here and Victor Hovland as well. But I haven't quite finished off that card. At the end of the show, I'll share what I have bet so far in my outright card and share my conviction pick as well for my golf one and done pool, which we have not gotten to yet. The third player who is projected to be top 3 most popular for Pebble Beach this week is Victor Hovland, around 10%. Jason and your team are projecting that same percentage as Siwoo Kim here. Interesting case here for Victor Hovland because his numbers off the tee look dreadful right now when I model him. He is still, top 10 for this week when I look at both last 50 rounds, last 24 rounds. He's still in that contender mix where I look for maybe betting some guys for outrights or using him in one and dones. This is where I have a hard time making decisions, though, Jason, because this is very similar to what I saw with Justin Thomas over the past couple of years, where he cannot find a fair way to save his life right now to start the year. Also, he might not even need to take driver out of his bag at Pebble Beach because
Yeah.
it's such a short course and he's such a strong hitter. And if that's the case, if he just doesn't use driver here, well, he's one of the elite wedge players in this field based on what I'm seeing on these numbers for proximity inside 150 yards. And if that's the case, well, Victor is very much in contention to win this tournament.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me. I mean, I'm projecting him up there in popularity because I think the fact that he showed well in his debut last week, I think with a 10th place finish and was in contention. But like you said, was able to do enough to score there. Decent court history, not great, but he's played here 3 years in a row. He's got a 13, so he's used to the conditions, and he's a veteran. He's probably one that I'm leaning like fade and save more to see. I want to see it more, and maybe there's other courses that I'm also willing to use him and see if he works. Kind of what you talked about out. Does he get even better? Is he an option? By May at the Memorial, is he shown he's fully back from where he was a couple years ago, a year and a half ago when he seemed lost. Because when he's at the top of his game, he's probably a top 5 guy based on how this is going, and so he's I'm a slight lean toward just hope he doesn't win it and not pick him, but we can talk about that.
2023 was when he was at the top of his game, in my opinion. He won Memorial. It was really that closing stretch after the main.
In the tour, didn't he win the tour championship, or he won it?
Yeah, that was a year he finished T2 at the PGA Championship. He finished strong with the FedEx Cup playoffs, winning both the BMW and the Tour Championship. So peak Victor is dominate, is better than, as good as Scotty when he's at his peak. And the most interesting part to me with him right now, he's been a horrible chipper. That's what's held him back in difficult scoring conditions. But looking at his profile here, he got back with his old coach, and now all of a sudden he's put together 7 consecutive events where he is gaining on the field around the green.
Yeah.
If he's fixed the worst part of his game, look out, because that's going to just only raise his floor on a week-to-week basis, and the ceiling will go up from there too. He's not just giving away pars on easy chips. So it's interesting for sure. I tend to agree with you though, Jason. I want to maybe use him on a longer course where it's a little more forgiving if he's spraying it a little bit. But again, that's the one part that's really hard for me, because I've seen this at courses like this, at short courses with guys who can't find a fairway, who just don't take a driver out of the bag, and now all of a sudden they're top 5 on the leaderboard and maybe going for the win. There's no way for me to model that. So it's interesting to say the least. So it's something to keep in mind with Victor, maybe even a live wagering opportunity if you're watching the event on Thursday and you're seeing a bunch of Viktor Hovland tee shots where the driver's not coming out of the bag. So keep that in mind. 3 most popular guys for this week: Justin Rose, Siwoo Kim, and Viktor Hovland. Let's talk about the course preview now for the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. This is a signature event, $20 million purse. Last week, only $1.7 million or so went to Chris Gotterup. This week, the winner will get $3.6 million, more than double. So this is a week where it's okay to maybe burn one of those best players in the world. 6,972 yards. This is one of the shorter courses they will play the entire year. Spyglass is part of this rotation for the first 2 days. But 3 rounds will be on Pebble Beach, par 72. Greens are POA. Defending champion Rory McIlroy. The only other signature event here the year before was won by Wyndham Clark, but that was a shortened event, only 54 holes. So keep that in mind. Before it was a signature event, and it was a much weaker field, the past champions were Justin Rose, Tom Hoagie, Daniel Berger, Nick Taylor over the past few years. The weather for this week is important. It's going to be chilly. The wind isn't so bad on Thursday through Saturday. I'm looking at around 5 to 15 miles per hour. The Sunday forecast in particular here is important. We're recording this on Tuesday morning, so things can change. It's certainly out in the Bay Area, so keep an eye on it. But Sunday, possible rain later in the afternoon and winds higher, 15 to 20 miles per hour. So think about that as we move forward here and talking about this. It's if they don't like the cold and they don't like the wind, then they might not play well on Sunday, even if they start out strong here on Thursday through Saturday. It's a lot different than what we saw from the desert play in Arizona last week, where it was beautiful and 80 degrees. Just to also put some more context on this purse, it is $3.6 million, but that's still less than pretty much all the other signature events. There's $4 million to the winner in the other signature events. The Players Championship is worth $4.5 million. The U.S. Open, 4.3. The Masters, 4.2 million. This Pebble Beach purse, though, is more than the PGA Championship and the Open based on what they paid out last year. We'll see if those purses go up in 2026. So keep that in mind.
Yep.
My conclusion there is I'm still not using Scotty Scheffler here because there's at least a dozen other events where I get more money if Scotty Scheffler is to win, and I think he will clip one of those. Jason, before we get into your trends for Pebble Beach, would you basically agree with that Scotty Scheffler take I just had?
Yeah, we have him with a grade because I think you could justify picking him. It's not like a non-signature event because there's 3.6, and because I think his ownership is going to be low enough, you could choose to do that. I'm not. I actually recorded a video. It's available on our channel. Where to use Scotty Scheffler. This was not in my top 6, and you kind of laid out why. He has great course history everywhere. Like he hasn't won here. He's been top 10 twice, which by Scotty standards is a below average performance at signature events and majors. So to me, there's just other events. You talked about the course, the conditions. I think it brings in a lot more randomness.
Yep.
And so I'm probably more willing to just hold Scotty and spread him across the Players, the Memorial, even the U.S. Open, which he hasn't won, but is worth more. Definitely the Masters. So those are like the 4, and then you could also consider the Arnold Palmer. And so I think there's just other opportunities for Scotty. If you are a solo entry player, I'm probably holding Scotty. I'm waiting deeper into the season because of some of what we talked about. Same for me, by the way, with Tommy Fleetwood and Rory. I don't think I'm going to use any of those. Those are like the 3 that I'm like, yeah, I'm saving them to maybe use them at those biggest events because I think they're my top 3 right now. Everybody else is at least in discussion, I think.
Love it. Give us your Pebble Beach trends because you found some very interesting nuggets.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously noted that the last 2 years have been the signature event. Before then, it wasn't. I think the fields were tougher like 10 to 15 years ago than they were 5 years ago, and that's part of what caused them, I think, to make this a signature event and change the format because I think enough pros were not wanting to play the Pro-Am element of this. Like by the time the schedule, they were opting to skip this when they played Phoenix or heading to the Genesis when it wasn't a signature. So some of this is maybe field strength related, but not all of it. If you look at the age of the winners and the runners up, average age 33.8 of top 2 finishers, which is, I would venture to guess without checking every tournament, at the higher end of like how much experience and veterans can do. And we've talked about why that is. Short course, shot making, wedge play, proximity to the greens where maybe distance doesn't matter quite as much. And it brings into play some veterans who maybe have lost a little bit on the distance, but still have the experience and the wind conditions, the coastal element, all of it, I think, brings veterans. Phil won here 3 times, I think twice in his 40s, and 2 other runners up. The list is like VJ had one of his last great rounds coming up second here. What's his name out of Georgia Tech? David Duval had gone a decade without winning on the tour. His last second place was coming up runner-up to DJ, Dustin Johnson, here at age 37. There's so many examples of like guys, Justin Rose, right? So I think there's so many examples of guys in their latter half of their career who have been able to have that hot week here with the conditions and with their experience that I think, 43% of all first and second over the last 20 years have been 35 or older. 21% have been 40 or older. So the old guys have been able to do it here. Now the field's tougher now, but there have been only 4 guys in their 20s that have won here in the last 20 years. Those were 2 by DJ, 1 by Spieth, and then the Berger one a few years ago. So basically 3 young studs who were among like the stars of the game when they won here and were winning everywhere, and Berger a few years ago are the only guys under 30 that have won here recently. So I think that says something about what it takes to win here.
You can say all you want about the field was tougher, but last year, Rory won. He's in his mid-30s. Second place was Shane Lowry. He was 37. Tied for third was Lucas Glover at 45 years old and Justin Rose at 44 years old. Even as a signature event, the top 4 finishers were older guys. So your point is very well taken that if you take distance out of the equation for being able to contend at a tournament, then all these older guys who are still very sharp with a wedge or a short iron in their hands become very interesting, including some crazy long shots that we've seen. Again, Justin Rose was not playing well, was not in good form last year. He's 250-1 going into that tournament and finished in third place. So Tom Hoagie was another outright that I hit here before it was a signature event. He was, I think, triple digits when he outlasted Jordan Spieth that year to win the Pebble Beach. So Ted Potter Jr., I think, was 300-1 when he won this tournament. So it is a week where you could get a very mixed leaderboard in terms of short shot guys and long shot guys. So keep that in mind. All right, Jason, time to pull up the data grid.
Yep.
And let's pull up those 3 favorites. And you already mentioned you're not using any of these guys, and I completely agree with you. The 3 biggest favorites, Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, who won last year, and Tommy Fleetwood at 22-1. Tommy's drifting a little bit. He's getting closer to 30 at some sports books, but I just don't think he's playing that great coming back over first PGA Tour event. He's been in Europe. He's been in the Middle East. T41 at the Dubai, 25th place at the Dubai Invitational. Just not off to a strong start after a blazing finish last year. I mean, even after the Tour Championship win, he played well at the DP World Tour Championship and another event in Abu Dhabi before that. So, but just restarting his season here after a couple of months off, it's off to a bit of a slow start. So this is not the spot where I want to use Tommy this week. So I think we can move on from here. We've already talked about not wanting to use any of these guys. So let's just move forward here to the course history column, Jason. And there he is. Justin Rose, the ageless wonder. It makes sense, right? I mean, you have a high pick grade on him as well. And I also want to mention as we go through this data grid, guys, what you're seeing is Jason's data grid for one of his particular entries in a golf one and done. So if you see a name crossed off, that means Jason has used it in this golf one and done pool, but he might be available to you if you haven't used him as well. So you can kind of make note of that. It doesn't mean that we're not using him. It just means that Jason has already used him in this entry, but you could still see where he might be ranked if you haven't used him as well. So on my end, I'm seeing, like Daniel Berger in my 4th spot. I've already used him in an entry. So he's crossed off in the course history here. So, but yeah, I mean, some more old guys here, man. Justin Rose and Jason Day as well, who has also played well at this tournament. So just guys that can hit some wedges, man, right?
Yeah, I think that those guys are definitely there. Berger, you see, we have a course history, but we don't have it. He hasn't played in 4 years.
Yep.
But he did win it, I think. Was it 21 that he won it? Yeah, he was 18 under. So, yeah, 21 was the year he won it the last time he played here. Cantlay, again, I think this is one where Cantlay shows up.
Yeah.
As if I'm like thinking about where I want to use certain guys, Pebble probably, I talked about the Open and some link style. You also want to think about like guys that also do well at RBC Heritage, because even though it's on opposite coast, also a seaside course, also on the very shortest end. So, and Cantlay always does well there too. So I think that's no accident. I think these types of courses also shape up well for Cantlay to at least be on the leaderboard or near the top 10. And so Cantlay does well there. Of course, Scotty's going to show up everywhere. And then you have guys that haven't played much here in the last few years, but have a top finish like Lowry, Horschel. Xander's is going back to actually 2019. He's only played her once since 2019, but he was pretty good back in 19. And so back when he played it before he became, started skipping Pebble until the recent years. So, and Xander missed last year, I think, because of the injury. I don't think he was back yet. Is that correct? Yeah, he did miss last year. So he did not play in it. But yeah, those are the guys that are ranking up top in course history. Now, if we check recent form, we're going to see some of these hot golfers. There's been a lot of hot golfers to start this year, haven't there?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've got 8 guys. Is that 8 over of 2.5 strokes gained per round, and most of them playing at least 3 tournaments?
Yeah, not flashes in the pan either, right? Guys have done it for multiple tournaments now, not just Siwoo Kim. Ryan Gerard is on my outright card this week. I bet him 75-1. If he could do well and contend at the Sony, a short positional course where you need to be in the fairway, and the wind was up for this year's Sony, that makes me consider Ryan Gerard from an outright betting perspective from his odds for a one-and-done signature event. When I'm only playing one entry, I'm not using him because I feel like I need to take one of the big dogs here at 3.6 million available to first place. But he is absolutely on my betting card. And if you're spreading entries, I certainly understand why you might consider him for maybe one entry. He's been great, Jason.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Gerard, like you said, played well in the win, got that second. So I think you also do want to look at guys that did well at Sony because of that factor this year specifically. And so, yeah, I would be looking at guys, like I said, veterans have played well either here or in link style or at the Heritage. Maybe the Travelers, also one of the shorter courses. Those are the kind of things I would look at, like who's done well at those events, because I think they are in play here as surprises.
Let's sort by pick grade here.
Okay.
And I want to start with the guy who you have at 90, Patrick Cantlay. He's sitting third here. You mentioned him. What's interesting to me is that if you just model him overall over the past 24 rounds or past 36 rounds, he does not rank well at all. But to your point, short course specialist, if I filter by courses that are less than 7,200 yards long, and this is certainly one of those, less than 7,000 yards of this course, all of a sudden he shoots way up. And I have him 6th on short course rankings for my stats that I care about for this week. 6th over the last 24 rounds on short courses. Scotty Scheffler's still number 1 there, but Patrick Cantlay's in the mix there. So my favorite Longshot, who is coming up here, is top 5 on this list of last 24 rounds over short courses. So that's something to consider if you're looking at stats and looking at finishes. If you are using a modeling service, get those rounds out of there at Farmers where it was 7,700 yards. Get those rounds out of there at even last year at the WM, which was, not so much of a long course on paper, but there were so many holes that were driver heavy where using driver was important. So keep that in mind for this week in particular. It's just a different ball game here. It's a totally different assignment at Pebble Beach versus what it was the past 2 weeks on the PGA Tour. And that's where we find value in pools and outright betting when we adjust to those factors and we're not just blindly betting recent form on the PGA Tour here. So one other guy I want to mention here in terms of the guys you have ranked here for pick grades, Maverick McNeely, again, like I don't understand his odds. We're at a signature event here. I know I mentioned it last week. He'd finished high, but then he faded at the end on Sunday.
He definitely did. Yeah, I had him. I had him on a couple. Yeah, and he was one that I was hoping, and he fell back. He was 3 over, I think, within the first 5 or 6 holes.
He's just a safe play, in my opinion. I think he's high floor, low ceiling. He's a Bay Area guy. His dad's a Silicon Valley billionaire. He's played Pebble Beach a ton growing up. That's why some portion of the golf betting community always loves Maverick McNeely at Pebble Beach. He's less than 40-1 in a signature event, and that just doesn't add up to me. I understand that he's playing awesome. He's in great form, but the ceiling just is not there for me with so much money on the line here for golf one and done pools. So that's just one man's opinion. If you want to be contrarian, that's fine. But also, he's still got 2 dots next to his name, so he's not unpopular for this week.
Yeah, I mean he's done well here in the distant past because this has been an event he's played a lot, and even going back 5 years, and he's also been solid to start the year. 2.8 strokes gained is pretty good. I mean, that's higher. It's a small sample size, but Scotty's the only guy on our board who's at +2 or better, and he's at +3.1 over the last 150 weighted rounds. Not even Rory and Fleetwood are. And so, yeah, he's been good, and that's why we think he'll draw some popularity. I'm going to switch up which entry I'm looking at because I do think we want to see some other guys. So Let me just find one. Because, yes, here's the thing. You can sort by different guys. Okay, look, Goddard is now third on this entry that he's available. Wow. So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Goddard? Because it looks like we're showing a slight odds move up where he's actually in front of like the Cantlays, McNeelys, and closer to Hovland now. I'm of two minds with Goddard. I mean, he's won twice in 3 starts. He's a long hitter, but he also did well at Sony in the Wind, and he did well at the Open. So I think he profiles well. We haven't seen many 20-year-olds or guys in their 20 win here. But if it's going to happen, it's going to be somebody at the top of their game, I think, like Goddard. But the thing is, how do you view him going forward? Like, because he can play on every. To me, he's way more versatile than some of these other guys I might consider, and so I might consider saving him just because now I think every tournament's in play for him.
Okay, I'm gonna start with this. I bet him again this week.
Yeah,
if they're gonna put him in the 30s, I'm gonna bet him. I don't think. Listen, you can draw the narrative all you want that this guy really win 3 times in 5 weeks to start the year on the PGA Tour. I get that. It doesn't happen very often. But I'll tell you what I was telling my other golf buddies going into that final round before what happened at the end on the back 9 at the WM took place. He wins the Sony, short positional course that he's not supposed to be good at. The wind was up. The driver was a weapon because it was also straight, and he could also flight it down. And he just overpowered that course. Go back to last year. Where did he win? He won the Scottish Open on a wind-swept course. Next week, plays the Open Championship, another link-style course. Don't forget, Pebble Beach is called Pebble Beach Golf Links. It is windy. It is linksy. He finishes 3rd at the Open Championship at Royal Portrush. As soon as Sony happened, Jason, I told myself, I'm not making this mistake anymore. Anytime there's a week where it's windy, Chris Goddard, as long as he's not like 20-1, I'm betting him because there is something, even with the best players in the world, when the wind is up, only certain guys are up for that. And only certain guys have the creativity and the shot making to deal with those situations. And clearly Chris Goddard is elite when it gets windy at this point. And we also just saw last year, we've talked a lot about how this short course brings a lot of other players into play with it being a wedge fest if you can find the fairway. But we also still have to mention that if you are insanely accurate with your driver and long, you can overpower this course to the fact that you just are completely in a different stratosphere than these other plotters that are hitting, from 125 yards away. It's exactly what happened with Rory McIlroy last year winning this event. It was windy and cold last year, a little bit rainy, and Rory just pounded over some of these angles that other guys wouldn't even think of and was able to just, flight down shots, choke up with his irons, got very creative, looked like he was back at Northern Ireland playing. So Chris Goddard fits that to me, even though he's an American, and I bet him this week. And if you have not used him, I would consider him yet again this week, just based on what we've talked about with Siwoo, Jason. If people have used Siwoo already, you're going to have a bit of leverage there. If people have used Goddard already, and the people that haven't used Goddard are afraid to use him because there's no way he's going to win 3 times in 4 weeks, He doesn't have to finish in first place this week for you to make more money on Goddard than the guys that won with Goddard last week.
Yeah, if
at
he's top
1.7.
3, you're matching. If he's third, you're matching him. Third outright.
And you got guys here at the top of the board who are coming over and playing on the PGA Tour for the first time this year. Yeah, Goddard, let's just get right into it. My top 3 for the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, Jason.
Yep.
In no particular order. Chris Goddard's in my top 3. I know I already used him last week, and I can't use him in my Rick Run Good major pool. Chris Goddard is 100% in my top 3. Second guy we haven't talked about yet, Russell Henley. I don't understand why he has not been bet this week. His odds have drifted a little bit towards the mid-30s at some sports books. His popularity, based on what you guys are projecting, is not crazy high. I think if we sort by betting odds, he's still, you guys still have him at 28, but there's only 2 dots next to his name. I was shocked by that, Jason.
6%-ish, I think, because he's going to get cover from those other guys, but he'll be popular. But there's so many options in one and done. We can't agree on anything. So,
well, the minute he wasn't in the top 3 on your projections this week, I was like, okay, Russell Henley's going to be in my top 3 for this week.
Well, he may be after we talk, right? We're going to drive all the people. But yeah,
Jason, I modeled it. I modeled this tournament every which way I could. Last 50 rounds, last 24 rounds, only looking at short courses. Yeah. Russell Henley was number 2 almost everywhere for me behind Scotty Scheffler. He is perfect for this course. He is a great wedge player. He is accurate off the tee. And if the wind is up and you're missing some of these small greens, he's also excellent around the green as well. Russell Henley is probably number 1 in my top 3 going into this week. And then the third guy for this week, I'll say Patrick Cantlay. He's got the course history. He's done well. I don't care that he's modeling not as great overall. If I look at short courses, that's his wheelhouse. And with this not being quite as valuable as the other signature events, Patrick Cantlay, you guys have him as like the 20th ranked golfer. I think it's a perfect fit here to try and pick off this signature event, but save some of the bigger guns for the $4 million prizes and up for the other events this year.
Yeah, so we didn't talk about our top 3s. We did kind of hint at it, and so I'm going to not use 2 of yours because you've used them, but they were certainly in my top 5 to 6 discussion. That's Goddard, who I also used with you on some of my more valuable entries, but do have him available on at least 10 others. And so I probably will sprinkle him on at least 1.
Yeah, I like it.
Maybe two.
Leverage.
Where I can still save him on others for maybe even bigger fish in the future if it's just the year of Goddard, right? And so and I like Cantlay. I will have at least 1 Cantlay pick, but they are not in my top 3 for this show. I'll start with number 1, and it is the guy you mentioned, Russell Henley. He does not have a grade on our board, by the way. So I want to explain why that is. He doesn't have a grade, if we see here, because he's 7th. And we basically have it set up where we're working to save golfers to match with events and grade them down if they're ranked higher than the relative event worth. So you see Scotty still get a grade, but that's because his odds are so high. And we're like, you can use them anywhere, right? You can make that choice. I think you could choose Scotty here, and then you're basically trying to get like a 2nd or 3rd at the Memorial to match what he does here, and you hope he wins here, right? So you can justify that. But with Henley, here's why I think Henley, despite being 7th in our rankings, is like a perfect pick for here. He's somewhat course limited, right?
Yes.
We saw last year his distance really be a factor. And so he competed. He won at the Arnold Palmer, which is longer but has lots of water. But he otherwise did well at the courses like the one in Connecticut, Travelers.
Yeah.
Did solid at RBC Heritage, played well at the Open. I think that just he's a guy I want to use. There's probably half the events I'm not going to consider Henley this year. And so even though we have him ranked higher than Hovland based on his performance over the last 150 rounds, which is correct, I think Hovland has more courses I will be willing to use him at over the course of the year. Henley, I'm probably using him here at RBC Heritage and Travelers for sure, and then mixing him a few other spots. But I'm not using him at the Masters. I'm not using him at the U.S. Open. I'm not using him at the Wells Fargo. Probably not Miami. I mean, there's lots of events where I'm not going to be using Henley, so I want to load up on him here. So Henley's my top pick that I'm going to definitely use multiple entries on for that reason. My others that are in play, so we mentioned some. You talked me out of Siwoo. He was also in play. I might have a Siwoo, but maybe just one. This is a tough one. I'm going to go Matt Fitzpatrick, another guy who I think has played well in the Open and I think can play in these conditions. A veteran. He's in his early 30s, but he's played a variety of courses. He's won the RBC Heritage, by the way. Of course, I said I want to look at how guys have done there versus here. So I think Fitzpatrick also is one of those guys, and he's coming off playing pretty well last week. And so I want Matt Fitzpatrick on some of my entries. And then the third guy, this is a contrarian play. I'm going to mix in Xander because I think he's going to be low owned. I think he's going to be low owned. He's won the Open. He's not looked good for the first 2 weeks, but we saw one of those was at, like you said, cross off the Farmers. I think he can play well at Pebble. I think this is a place where I think he could get right. Will he? I don't know, but I'm willing to do it at low ownership.
Interesting. I'm just checking real quick to see if, despite his slow start, the wedges are fine. I mean, 6th in this field from 75 to 100 when he's in the fairway, 17th from 100 to 125 yards away. Wedge fest, man. Like, his poor play has been about the driver and long irons and woods, just not what this is. That's another guy, like I was talking about with Hovland. If Xander puts the driver in the bag this week and doesn't take it out, becomes very interesting. So I like that leverage play as well. I want to put just a period on the Siwoo fade here for this week. And why? Because in golf one and done, if you're going to do something like that with a guy who's playing as red hot as him, there's got to be a reason for somewhere else you want to use him. I might use him at the Players, Jason. The biggest purse of all, to maybe have leverage where surely Scotty will be the most popular player with $4.5 million on the line. I want Siwoo with this outstanding ball striking to have an advantage over guys who can't hit it straight in 300 yards off the tee. And they're going to be in the water at the Players with the biggest purse on the line. So that's where I have in
probably
mind.
Under 5% would be my guess there. Like, he's not going to be he's going to be used up by a decent chunk, and then you're going to get more Scheffler, you're going to get more Rory, you're going to get it spread out over other big names. And so I don't mind that. Those are my top three. There are others. Like I said, I think veterans are in play. I think there's more variance in this tournament. This is the one signature event because of just how it like shapes up, where I'd be more willing to go off board a little bit. I don't think you have to go way down, but like you can get down to like the Lowrys of the world, right? Again, you can get down to Sepp Straka, a good wedge player, in the plus 5,000 range. I think you can get to the plus 5,000s and take a chance on the veterans that might show up this week. Jason Day, I think, is in play, right? As well.
How about a plus 18,000 for my favorite long shot of the week, Jason? 180 to 1 for the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. My favorite long shot is Andrew Novak. Another guy who, if you just overall model him, he's not going to rank great. But if you filter for short courses, Andrew Novak catapults all the way up to number 5 in my rankings over the past 24 rounds on short courses. His iron play, his wedge play in particular, is pristine. Top 10 in this field over the past 24 rounds on short courses for proximity from 125 to 150. In fact, he's 3rd in that angle. He makes a lot of birdies on short courses, top 10 in that. He also is very good on strokes gained par 5s. If you can make birdies on the short course in the par 5s, you're going to be at an advantage here. Andrew Novak is on my betting card. I got him at 210 to 1 earlier in the week. He's been bet down a little bit to 180 to 1, but at that price, it still is not a lot to spend to try and get him on there. For those who stuck around this long, I'll give you the rest of my outright betting card to this point. I will reply in the comments with my full betting card. I'm still making some decisions about the top of the card and some shorter shots here. So here's what I have so far. Ryan Gerard, 76-1. Andrew Novak, I have at 210-1. Shane Lowry at 65-1. Another guy who played well here last year, and I think played much better in the swing season over in Europe coming into this season. Probably will choke on Sunday as he always does, but I think he's a good course fit here. I did bet Russell Henley at 36-1, and I did also bet Chris Goddard up at 36-1. Those are a little shorter now, but that's where I'm at. I'm making a decision. I have enough room left for maybe Siwoo, maybe Justin Rose, maybe Victor Hovland if he just leaves the driver in the trunk on his way into the pro shop. So we'll see about that. Still making some decisions about the end there, but that's where I'm at, Jason. Do you have a conviction play or not before I wrap up and give mine?
I have a conviction play. I have a long shot.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Give me your long shot.
That's okay. That's okay. I mean, you're going to be the better long shot, but you're going extreme long shot there with Novak. I'm going to go down the board a bit. Now, again, I'm going to preface this by saying I haven't decided whether I'm going to go this far down the board in a one and done, because I'm not sure I need to. But if I were, and this is again going completely against recent form in the last couple of weeks, Alex Noren from Sweden, I think he's at around plus 8,000 in a lot of spots, has missed the cut here in the recent events. But you know what? The one thing that stood out, his strokes gain on approach, what he's not done well is drive the ball, and he's also putted poorly. But I think this is the kind of course, again, a 40-plus-year-old. He's never won on the PGA Tour, but he has like 12 European victories, including 2 in the fall. He had missed the first part of last year up until May with an injury, and then had to work his way back and had to earn his way on the tour by basically going to the DP World Tour, winning in the fall, getting in their top 10, and he won twice to do that. So he had good form until in the fall. He just has not looked as good in his first 2 events here. But I think based on the fact that it's not been his iron play that's been poor, it's been everything else. I think he's in play, and we've seen older golfers come out of nowhere and have success. So if I'm going a long shot, I'm going a 40-year-old Alex Noren, who I think if I mix him in a one and done, it's going to be in a really large pool to try to hit like where nobody else has him. It would have to be more than 500 people in that pool. I'm not using him in a smaller pool. And I may not do it at all because I think there's options like Lowry, like I said, and guys that you don't have to get that far down the board to fill out your card in one and done. But Alex Noren would be my long shot. My conviction play, I talked about Russell Henley. I will have the most entries on Henley or tied for the most. He will be my top used golfer this week. And I don't care if he gets to 10%, honestly, because I think there's only so many courses that I'm going to use him, and I want to use him at some point over the season. And if he wins, great. If he gets me a top 3 and Scotty wins a top 5, I'm happy with that too. So I'm playing Henley in my one and dones at Pebble because I think there's so much variance. I want to use a guy like Henley here, where I think he's relatively going to be higher up the odds board than he is going to be elsewhere.
If you want to dabble and wager on our favorite long shots, whether it's to win outright or top 5, top 10s, etc., go do it at our new show sponsor here. You guys have been awesome supporting this show. We got a new deal for you too over at Novig. You can spend 25 and get $50 just by signing up and using the promo code POOL. And also, Jason, I just checked. You might have seen me looking down there for a minute there. I was checking the odds over at Novig. They have the best price on Alex Noren by more than 50 points versus the market consensus right now. You can get Alex Noren for 141-1 over at Novig. And they also have the best price on Andrew Novak right now at about 118, 119-1 or so. So go check out Novig. It's another way you can show your support for the show. If you found any of the information in this show useful, do us a small favor as well. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let us know in the comments who you are picking at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. We'll wrap up with my conviction pick. And we didn't talk about it, Jason, but we are 100% aligned. It was an easy decision for me this week. No debate. Russell Henley is my conviction pick for the Pebble Beach Pro-Am this week on the PGA Tour. He just fits perfectly. And the bigger point is what you said, that he's just not a good fit at a lot of the other big purse events where you have to have some distance, where you have to have some strength off the tee. He's a shorter course specialist where he really thrives with a wedge or a short iron in his hand. I think this is a great fit for him as well. And he's already shown that he can win a signature event against the big dogs in the field. Now he gets to do it potentially at a course that fits him even better than the one he won before, the Arnold Palmer. So I love Russell Henley this week. That is my conviction pick for the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for this week's show. Hope it was useful. If you have not signed up for PoolGenius yet, give us a shot. If you're in these golf one and done pools, we already showed you last week, gives you an edge, lets you know that how to think about some things, make some smarter decisions. We hit Chris Goddard up last week. We're in the money in our pools right now, hoping to keep that going for the rest of the year. Give us a try if you haven't tried out PoolGenius yet. The product that Jason is putting together with that data grid is second to none in this industry. As always, thank you so much for watching. For Jason, I'm Steven. Best of luck at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am.